Before we start, can you introduce yourself real quick?
I am Munira. I am a mother of two boys. Artist, amateur. Amateur, is that the word? I do it for the love of art. I paint, I write. I can call myself an author. Right? I paint and I also give courses to teenagers with multicultural background. That is a little bit, and my passion is, spreading love and joy and also raising awareness on topics that matter to me. I talk about ending rape culture and taking away the taboo of stuff. And I speak from a survivor's perspective. So I talk about surviving that and also domestic violence and abuse. And one thing, led to another. Surviving rape led me to being vulnerable, into attracting certain type of personalities and working and healing from within and, working through my childhood traumas. I understood, that, okay, that's why I'm here right now. So I have to heal from within. I have to go back. So talk about anything that, anything that I'm told, hush, hush, don't talk about it. This is shame. Then I have to talk about it because that's where the healing needs to start. And let us place the shame and blame on the people who are putting us through this and unnecessary pain and cruelty. The shame belongs to them, not the survivors, and let them also heal, whatever they, hurt people, but also hurt people sometimes heal. And I want to be on the later category, inshallah.
Inshallah. The shame culture and the Somali culture, they go in hand. I feel like they're just like two best friends that they don't want to let go of each other. How did that affect your for you with your healing journey?
Oh, wow. The shame culture is so heavy, and I believe that many societies have that. Also in Norway, different families have also shame culture. It's just less aggressive, I may say. With time, they have had time to change and time to accept that people can have individual identities as where we come from, and collective identity, where whatever you do affects the collective society, your whole family. So the shame is so heavy on us because of that, because anything you say or do is mirrored on them. It's their shame, and it has affected me very badly. As you may imagine, he walks differently or acts differently. Instead of asking, why does this child suddenly start to limp? We are like, oh, you're trying to be someone else, you're trying to be yo-yo, gangster. So we're like, okay, why is he limping? Let us find out the root to his instead of trying to have a swag that he doesn't, he's trying to or he or she. So anyone who acts or walks in a different way is not welcome, because it takes away what is known. And culture is supposed to change and evolve with time, but we are very rude to it. It has become our identity. So and so more that we forget is more important. Being loving, being in compassion, because if we spread that, no one is gonna want to leave home. If we are compassionate towards one another, and when we see our children walking in a certain way, not like, if we meet them with love and understanding and and communicate, they wouldn't want to leave home. That was not my case. I speaking up about because it was matter of life and death case. When I was a teenager, I did not want to live anymore. I was suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, and the things that I had experienced in my childhood, the things that I witnessed, I have both witnessed and also experienced horrific things. They started to come back as nightmares and haunt me. And so it was a matter of life and death in my case that I had to say, listen, guys, I'm losing my, this is what happened to me. And unfortunately, love and compassion, I wasn't met besides my mom, alhamdulillah. And, without needing to name names, um, relatives, started saying, I am gay because I want to be a bad girl. Now that I have come to a Western country, I want to be a bad girl. That's why I'm accusing this person of so and so. And that just led me far from, what anything that was known to me. So I was not met with compassion. I was blamed, shamed, and also the same relative who said that I was lying said later on, even if it's true that you have been raped by so and so, by talking about it, you're just bringing more shame to us. Who's going to marry our daughters? Who's going to want to associate with us? And my teenage brain, that did not make any sense at all. It takes so much energy. It took so much of me to talk about and say it out loud. I have had lived with the pain of surviving that for so many years. So when I eventually spoke up, to be not believed and then also blamed. What were you doing? What were you wearing? And how were you acting? And all those unnecessary questions that one should never ask a child. Ultimately, for a time being, I had to look away and distance myself from those that are close to me. And it affected everything that I knew about family, about belief, about goodness, that's expected from those close to you. Time to go to therapy. Even that was not welcome, oh, what are you gonna tell this? What are you gonna tell the therapist? What are you gonna air the dirty laundry? Later on, I understood that many that I know have rape, but it wasn't talked about. Everybody knew it happens, but as long as we don't talk about it, disappear in time. What we don't realize is that it never disappears. It's something we learned with, because we can't leave our bodies. We cannot leave ourselves behind. As long as we are alive, this body, we are stuck with our bodies. So it affects the way we behave, the way we think. I didn't realize that, that, like I said, now I know, oh, I attracted certain personalities in the male sex. I attracted certain personalities because they resembled something that I knew. It's even though it's aggressive and I should be running that direction, I did not, because for my brain, someone who was aggressive was safe, because I knew about violence. I had violence. My body knew what it is to be, you know, in a violent environment. So learning that, and learn be safe within my body and trust my body again, and allowing myself to be in a safe space. I had a rude awakening. For me, it had to take getting, my head beat and thinking, okay, now I cannot be in this marriage anymore. For me, it took going through a domestic abusive marriage where it became physical to realize there is a pattern I have to break. There's some brokenness within me that I need to heal. And now that I was a mother, luckily, alhamdulillah, I left early on. My babies don't remember anything about it, alhamdulillah. But it had to go there for me to wake up, subhanAllah. And I realize we go through the path we need to go through to find who we are. I'm still a woman, under construction. I'm still in progress, alhamdulillah. But I'm happy where I am today. And I'm proud of that little girl who walked away and chose healing and chose loneliness for a certain time I'm proud of that journey because it led me to who I am today.
Damn, that's heavy. Yeah, that's very heavy. It takes a lot of guts and bravery to remove yourself from situations that don't suit you or that aren't safe for you to, especially when it includes your kids as well. I'm glad that you're out of that environment and that you took the time to heal and look after yourself. I feel like fear is the first thing that comes to mind within our culture when people hear about these topics. When you come forward with your story and you tell them, this is what I've gone through, this is what happened to me, they automatically respond like, you can't say that. Like somebody else, people can hear you, like, like they turn down their voice and they're like, just keep that to yourself. And I've noticed after just me being too angry with the way that they would respond with things, and I took the time to work things out, I realized that they do it because they themselves are very insecure. They know what happens behind closed doors. Most of them have experienced it, but never had the courage to speak out. And that when they hear somebody else say, it's happened to me and I know what it feels like, they become defensive and they're like, I never had that courage. Like, how come she does? When I started switching things in that way, it gave me the perspective to, in a way, forgive them. But at the same time, it still hurts because we still have to deal
That's
with that trauma.
mm, that's
I'm trying to remember everything you said. um,
let's just have a brand new conversation, no problem.
yeah, but
It does hurt, and I think we're allowed, not I think, I know we're allowed to feel whatever we are feeling. We are entitled to our emotions, and
mm,
that's also something. Did you get the book, by the way? The book that I said. You have to get that book.
I bought it just because you mentioned it. The next day, I bought it. I haven't read it yet.
Yes, I'm telling you, that book has God bless the author and the work they put through that book, mashallah. The body for that book made me, understand a lot of things and even see myself and and understand that it's not um that we need to be in a bad environment. It's just it feels safe. You don't know your body. The trauma changes and rewires our brain and how we respond to horrific things. Some of us don't, we dissociate. We can, be in fake environment and not react as if we are in a bad place. We are boiling, but you wouldn't see it by looking at us, because we are used to being in such places. So go out, it's so scary. Because suddenly you're alone and you should feel safe, but you don't feel safe. It has to take time. I want to tell this to my fellow survivors of domestic violence. Yes, when you leave, it's scary to be alone because you are out of a place where someone is constantly had a total control over your mind and how you should feel, how you should think. Give it time, and also therapy. Lots and lots of that is very important. It's worth it. It's not easy. Listen, I was disappointed of when I left. Not because I left. I was disappointed in the fact that I stayed the amount of time that I have stayed. I was disappointed at myself because I started going to therapy when I was, I think, 17, 18. Between, yeah, early on. As soon as I started having the nightmares and started having, PTSD, and I was diagnosed with severe depression and I had mental health issues, conditions. And But I was going to therapy, and I went to therapy for 3 years consistently, and I had picked up a tool, you know, to help me manage and understand why I was reacting the way I was reacting. Um, so I expected more of my, I did not expect that I would be in a situation where no human being deserves to be in. Domestic abusive relationship, friendship, even family relations, it can be a parent, it can be a sibling, anyone. And in a situation where someone is degrading you, abusing you, I do not expect that of myself. So I was disappointed because I was like, I went to therapy. I should have known better. But no, I still had a lot of healing to do. I still do. And I think this is the healing for us and will be forever. But what is different now is now I know that I have to love myself. That's the thing I didn't know how to do. I want to be. I talked about what happened to me. I understood that was not my fault. I placed the shame and the guilt on them and not me. I started speaking up. I was vocal, brave, but I did not know that I could love myself. It was something that such an alien thought. I felt like love myself. What? For what? But I can love you, and I'll love you with all my heart, and I'll give you everything I have got. And that is how I was operating. And that doesn't work. That does not work because if you do not love yourself, then there is no self respect. And when there is no self respect, there is no, you allow to be treated however way because we're like, uh, deep down, you don't love yourself.
Yeah.
You're But Alhamdulillah, now I do self and I know that I deserve absolutely utmost respect and I give it to myself. And anyone who doesn't give it to me, I just remove them from my space or I simply remove myself.
Mm.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. First thing, those fake walls that we create in our head when we dissociate, I used to thrive in those because like it takes me out of like the situations or the conversation that I didn't want to be in. And I didn't know that's what I was doing at the time until I went into therapy. And you said that when you went into therapy, like it didn't fix everything straight away. You still had to keep going back. And there's a misconception, and I thought this too, that when I went into therapy, everything will be healed and I'll be good as new. But going back there, like week after week, in for like a year and a half, even to this day, I still use those tools that she taught me. Like, and I don't think like I think now they're starting to understand, but like we like within our community, they don't understand what therapy is. Like my mom, she just couldn't understand. There's a lot of people that like they're like, why can't you trust me or talk to me or tell me like what your thoughts and issues are? Like I can help, I can understand. Like you might, but you're not helping because like there's that barrier. Like we speak the same language, we have the same culture, we have the same religion, but there's like this barrier of like lack of communication. But yeah, that shit is hard.
Not easy.
No, it's not. How did that, with your healing and your progress and um, how did that define your identity to the person that you are now?
Healing is ongoing. I just want to go back to something you said. I thought that, we have to go to therapy to fix ourselves. There's nothing to be fixed here. There's nothing wrong with us.
Mm.
We have, but we learn a new way to live with the past. We learn to make peace with the past. And also, sometimes I get angry by remembering what happened. some days, and I allow those feelings because we have right to feel however we were feeling. We
Mm.
should experience the things we have experienced. And yes, there are people who experience much more horrific things, but there is no reason to compare. I say that because that's what I hear in my head. Oh, you should be grateful that people who went through more than you. I am aware and I
Or
pray
عادي
for them.
كدك. That's a
Yes, exactly. Exactly. العادة
that's
كبير.
the
You should
favorite
be
word.
grateful. عادي وحاولنا إذا ما خلص. If we experience war, we know we can hide under the bed or where, from the bullets and whatever.
Mm.
But if someone came and destroyed your innermost sacred home, your body, there is nowhere you can hide. You cannot hide from memory. You cannot hide from your body being jumpy when it shouldn't be. You cannot hide from being triggered by things that doesn't trigger quote unquote normal people who have not gone through the things we went through. So accepting that, realizing that I cannot hide from all those things. I have cracks within me, like every beautiful old buildings. I love old buildings. They're so beautiful. So every house that has cracks, that's still beautiful. Go to therapy. We can learn a way to soothe ourselves and be compassionate. But what happened has happened. There is no way of undoing that. Real new way of living with it. And that is my whole, you know, um, way of living right now, and accepting whatever emotion that comes, I let it pass through.
Mm.
I acknowledge it and I allow myself to feel it. And by being that, I see that the more love I give myself and the more I am compassionate towards myself, the more lovable I am, the more patient I am with my children and people around me, the more joyful I am. And even when I can still be joyful because I'm like, I am feeling these emotions and they're just going to pass through. They're not, it's not my identity, it's not who I am anymore. And we have been lied to, sis. We have been told that we are like some jar that is going to break. And if something has happened to you, whether it was your fault or not, you're broken. You're broken goods, and nobody's going to want to have to deal with you or want to have you. And I realized that I am that someone who wants to deal with me. One, I have to, and two, I want to. And this is my feelings, my thoughts, they're mine, nobody else's. And I will give myself all the good things that I can from now on. And anyone who comes into my life, but it's not going to be from a place lacking love, because I love myself, alhamdulillah, and I'm learning to do that every day that goes. Anything additional, welcome, but it's not going to be something that you know, that I lack anymore, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, you reminded me of a song that I was listening to yesterday on repeat because I just found the song yesterday. And one of the part that really got me was I know we're blood, but this love is bad for me. It's
Mm.
like I'm gonna send you, I don't know if you listen to songs, but I will send you.
Same to me. I love music. Music fuels my days. Music and coffee.
I
I get up. Send it to me.
yeah, it's a beautiful song by Megan Trainor thing.
When I say something about songs, you just remind me something. I think it was 3 years ago. I was listening to Demis Rousseau's Ever and Ever Forever and Ever Be the One that shines. La 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 la. I just asked myself, what if this song is self? Like love songs, when you listen to a love song, instead of giving it to someone, if you have a significant other, why not? Go ahead. And if you do or if you don't, times I believe it's okay that we can dedicate love songs to ourselves. Because that's the stage where I'm healing and I'm learning and I'm, learning to love myself. And I'm like, my focus is inwards right now. That's where I was. Dedicating love songs to oneself. Have you ever done that? Like listen to a love song and be like, this song is for me. Because I'm the one who cannot live without me. I'm the one who's gonna actually, you know, cease to exist if I do not nurture myself. I am the one ultimately who's uh, stuck with me. People, we are not supposed to hold each other hostages, you know. We are travelers and we come into each other's life for a reason. Maybe we are learning something from one another, and then the time comes where people maybe have to go separate ways. And instead of being one another's hostage, I'm like keeping each other hostage. I'm like, okay, pass through, pass through. This is your time to go. But love, dedicating love song to yourself. My goodness, I do that.
I've never
And
done that.
it's
That's so
a beautiful
interesting.
experience. Try that.
Because like when you think of love songs or listen to it, it's always about the future someone, or that person you're with at that time. Like that's how they package, but that's a very interesting concept. I like that.
Send you. There are few songs when I listen to them, I'm like, there is no one else comes to my mind. I just see me and the little girl, the teenager, Munira in different stages in life, and
Mm,
I'm like, yes, this is us, baby. This is for us.
yeah. No, that's how I was feeling when I listened to Megan's song. Like it also reminded me of like a lot of things my therapist said to me too. Like, my therapist told me to write you a letter
Hmm.
and thought that it will make me feel better. That's part of the song, but it's also something that my therapist said to me. And I'm sure there's a lot of therapists probably said that to a lot of their clients. I feel like I connect more to like trauma songs than love songs, but I'm gonna have to try that. Um
Hmm.
Meditation music is something that I dedicate to myself, like just the normal sounds and rains and just listen to it. But yeah, send me like a couple. But there was another part that you mentioned. If you can't love yourself, how are you gonna respect
Hmm.
yourself? Like how did you like connect those two?
Oh my goodness, sis. Oh, I have to, yeah. I used to frown upon, when I remember the things I allowed to happen. And, I'm like saying to myself, you were a grown woman, you weren't a child anymore. So, okay, when you were a child, what happened to you? It was beyond your power, or more powerful, and it should have never happened. But now you are a grown woman in a country where you have rights. I'm like, how could you? I felt like the child in me was the teenager in me who had, and I still have, the aspirations and things that I see for myself, inshallah, bimahakrin. Was very disappointed. The teenager in me was like, I went through therapy and all that, those years of loneliness and misery, and you end up here. How dare you? And how dare you allow those things happen? And I used to frown upon the things that they did. So I understood that I had, yes, zero self-esteem and also love for myself. And therefore, when you don't love yourself and you are carrying yourself, you're like, I think I am. That's what I said to myself. I started writing. I started a whole blog called conversefromwithin.com. I started this blog just to make sense of the madness. I wanted to understand how I ended up where I did. And now I know that, people with narcissistic tendencies, they know who to pick. And I was, this loving and loud and, social sister. Yes, I was vulnerable to a narcissistic abuse because of my childhood, but I want to say that and really, really emphasize here that no one is immune to abuse, and anyone can go through it. It doesn't matter where you come from, if you come from which background you have. You could come from an educated family with you know, their ish together, and you could have had a really safe childhood. Um, but if you do not have love for yourself, it will take time for you to get out of this. And now I can see when I'm talking to people, I'm like, thank you very much. Thank you for showing me your mind. No, thank you. Because I have respect and love for myself. How did I realize that? Like I said, I used to frown upon the things that I experienced. Like, how could that happen? How could I allow that to happen? And then I'm like, yeah, because I had no respect for myself. And we think that, because I was raised in a society where the kinder the girl is, the more quiet you are, the more, you don't complain. Even they sing about it in love songs, some of the songs in Somali that I love, يعني "Asho ma'ala asho, wa barri wa ralio," programmed to
Oh,
think,
I hate those words.
me too.
Oh, it feels like they're grooming you for something.
Exactly, that was the word, grooming you. So the girl listening to cleaning her kitchen, doing her food, she never complains. She never, excuse me, why should I not complain? I'm a human being. Because we think the more kinder we are, the person is gonna, we're gonna knock sense into them and be like, okay, they will think she's so kind and so patient. I should treat her better. Okay, I'll treat her better tomorrow. It doesn't work that way. If we don't stand up for ourselves, I learned that if I did not stand up for myself and say no, this is not right. I don't want to be. If you want, I'm not a punching bag. Go to the gym if you want to work out. No, you have had a bad day at work, but I am not your boss. Don't lash out to me. And if we don't make those boundaries, people don't know when to stop. It's easier. We are helping also people when we tell them no, because we are like, they will maybe stop and say, okay, maybe I should go within me and fix it, whatever. Why do I want to lash out on this person?
Mm.
But yes, we were groomed, to be obedient, but it's not by default. It should not be by default. And it should not be, regardless of how you treat me, I'm going to be obedient, regardless of what you do. No, that's not how it works. And more we allow, the more we tolerate, I want to say, not allow, because we're not doing those things, but the more we tolerate, the more bullshit, sorry, we experience. And that was my case. The more I tolerated, the worse the situation. And I learned that it was lack of self-respect. And there are many things here, how we were brought up, the things I experienced, and also looking within myself and carrying my story with shame. I've always been honest about what I experienced, and I told, whoever that not only the person I married, but the people I was potentially maybe gonna marry. I'm like, listen, this is what happened to me. Sometimes I have nightmares, la 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 la. I've always been honest about it. However, the same stories that, the same experience that I have had would be weaponized in times when I'm like trying to stand up for myself and be like, this is not right. This is not right. But you are you acting like this because of what you went through? So I understood that in order for me to also love myself, I have to go back and love that little girl and tell her it was not your fault. And do you know the importance it for me to understand that? Because when I understood that it was not my fault, it was not in my power, it was not my fault. There's nothing I have done to deserve that. And take away the guilt feeling, then I'm like, okay, if it's not my fault, then why should I be ashamed because of what happened to me? Why am I carrying around this shame that is burdening me, and I'm walking around with it, and it shows by the way I talk and by the way I carry myself. So I decided, not anymore, no longer. I take away the shame too. Here you go. Let's place it on whoever you want, but not me. And I started walking different. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna walk out of here with my head high, humble at heart, but definitely with my head high, because it's not my fault. It's not my shame to carry. And yeah, now I lost my
Yeah,
thoughts. But
it sounds like you recognize your power in
alhamdulillah.
and that's
Yes.
such a beautiful thing to see. Like when I see people taking their power back and doing what they can to work on themselves, and like I'm on social media all the time, I'm just going through and seeing like people overcoming so many traumas or pains in their lives, and it empowers me in my own healing to be like, take inspiration from this and apply it to your own progress and see what you can do different. And you're giving so many voices to so many people because you paving the way for them to speak out, and you do it in such a way that is very powerful.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Habibti.
It's true. um I want to go back to something that you said, like boundaries doesn't exist. And I've like seen so many people like say, we raised you, like we're your aunties and your mother's, like, how dare you bring boundaries into this? Like, how did that affect you? Like, when they come at you with like, there's no boundaries in this house, like, how dare you?
We don't have a big, it's our mom. We have our mom, alhamdulillah. And our mom is also very keen on boundaries. She will tell you, I'm not ready for guests today. Don't come, leave me alone. So we are lucky in that way, alhamdulillah. But yes, when it comes to the relatives and then, the big, it has been a challenge.
Mm,
But I think once you are vocal and you walk the way you do. Well, now I roll mostly because I am an ambulatory wheelchair user. I have a wheelchair. I don't walk outside, I walk in the house to save energy and ration my energy. That is also something we can talk about another time, how undealt with trauma manifests in our physical body and actually we develop health issues, autoimmune diseases. I have that. That
something that
trauma,
we used to.
yes, trauma affects our body, it affects everything. وحي دعا كسر اسكت قدر ما جرته, it affects our body, it affects everything. That's why we try to tell people, stop, rape culture and guarding the abuses because it's doing no good. If we think about the coming generations, um, we want healing mothers and fathers to bring forth more healed children, inshallah. But yeah, we have peace now, alhamdulillah. We have peace, and I think it's also by choice because now I am selective of who I allow in my space. I have more connection with people in the internet, my sisters on the internet, and I have few friends that can come to me and I can go to them. Whoever gets offended, it's their loss because I am a house under construction. I do not have more energy for someone to come with their hammers, and that's what some people are good at doing. They come with the hammer and they're like, I'm gonna try to fix you. And
Yeah.
I'm very sensitive with my energy. So I'm like, no, thank you. Fix whoever you want. Fix your children, your uncle.
Yeah.
Fix your own house, not me. Thank you very much. Alhamdulillah, we got
Yeah.
it.
Very receptive to other people's energies. Like I pick up their energies and like it stays with me for like 2 days. And like I have to like stay away from them for at least 2 days to be like, go back to your own energy. What was I thinking? Like what you said, like trauma manifests the
Mm,
physical thing. That's one thing that I never used to think about before, until I went into therapy and I was like, oh, by the way, I have these weird days where like I would wake up and like I can't move, but my mind is like awake, but I'm
mm,
paralyzed and like I can't do anything. And I think that was also the first time I heard of like sleep
Mm.
paralysis.
Mhm.
I hope I said that right. Um, and like the way that people came back with me, like within the community, was like shut down. Why? I don't think anybody wants to hear that. You haven't prayed enough. You need to go do your salat properly. You need to go read the Quran. You need to do this and that. Like, have you had like people?
Oh, yeah.
I can't even.
I just had a flash. I just
Oh,
when I was 13 years old, I started fainting, and now I know that was panic attacks. But back then in Somalia, and they thought that I was possessed, so I was taken to Sheikh, and I got the living. If there was anything in me, well, they beat it out of me. Okay,
big tusbah.
not that that's
Oh, that's
it was horrible. It was horrible. 3 days of and Quran start and not this, there is absolutely power in the Quran and praying and reading the Quran, meditating, doing whatever that brings you peace. There is power in it. However,
it's
just
the
like
way you do it.
if you have diabetes, you need diabetes det var norsk. That was Norwegian, right? What do you say it in English? High blood sugar. And these issues, if you have heart issues, you go to a doctor. If you have, problem with your eyesight, you go to whoever you go to, the doctor of the eyes. English is not my first or second language.
I
So
think they're called
anyways,
ophthalmologists. I don't know either. Go.
the doctor of the eyes. If you have problem with your teeth, you go to the doctor of the teeth. If you have panic attacks, you need to go to a therapist. You need to go to the doctor of the mouth. Whenever I felt the panic coming, I used to sit down because I don't want to faint anymore. I'm like, I don't want to go back and get my roof again. So yes, we hear those, coming back every time you have slightly mental health conditions that could be fixed. Actually, you can get help, you can get medication. Sometimes it doesn't need to be medication, sometimes it could be not shaming medication. It's important, if you need medication, take your medication. Something as simple as just talking and finding the patterns and unwiring your mind with someone who's professional, who has studied how trauma affects the body and the mind. It's important to seek help. um, I think now change is happening, and our communities, people are learning that okay, there are mental health issues. It is not from sane to insanity. If you go to a therapist, oh well, she has gone mad, and you may not have gone mad, but if you listen to people after time, you will see yourself walking like, okay, maybe I am mad, because people will act like,
Projection.
oh yeah, like, oh well, type. If you listen to people, you will definitely go mad. So don't don't do that.
Or
But
you
definitely,
start to believe you're mad.
yeah. Imagine if people start, they see you walking and they change the street just not to walk on the same lane with you because they have heard you go to therapist, and because you go to therapist, they add salt and pepper, and we love adding spices into people's stories, and they're like, oh, she's on medication. What if she's not using her medication? She's gonna kill me. So people make up stories just by hearing one thing. And mashallah, we have a lot of work to do, but I believe that we have come a long way. But the fact that we are actually sitting here and talking to one another about these topics, I think that's a testimony to the fact that we have come a long way, but we have much work to do.
Yeah, definitely. Um, let's move into something a little light. And
Okay.
I'm looking at the pictures behind you. Did you draw those? Do you make?
I paint them. They're my paintings. Yes.
They're so beautiful and
Thank
colorful.
you.
Very
Thank you.
calming too.
Yeah, I love them. It's therapeutic for me to paint.
How
So
did you get into painting?
Well, you wanted to go to something lighter, but now we come back
Oh,
to
no.
you know, I'll just mention it and then we can go ahead. Um, when I started going to therapy, my first psychiatric, I wasn't able to speak to her
Mm,
because I was so ashamed. What was I going to tell her? I'm having nightmares about what happened to me.
mm,
And I hadn't told anyone for so many years, over 10 years. Um, so she asked me, what do you do for fun? And I said, I draw. And she said, can you bring your drawings next session?
mm,
Instead of asking me how I'm feeling and what happened and all that, we started talking about my drawings. And then she said, okay, this is art therapy you're doing. What's what we call art therapy? I'm like, okay, I didn't know that. And after a while, I started, talking about the painting and what they represent. And easily we started talking about what happened to me. So that's how I discovered that what I'm doing was art therapy. Mm. I used to draw and
writing is very healing too.
write poems in a way that if someone read it, it's absolutely healing. And it's your secret. You can write. I used to write in a talk about trees and fallen leaves and birds without wings, and I'm talking about myself. But anyone who's reading it doesn't about
Yeah.
why is the wingless bird who's you know and the tree that has lost branches and all that. But I knew whenever I read it, I knew what it meant to me, and that I was talking about my experience and my traumas. So if you don't write, go ahead and write. People are gonna watch or listen. Really
There's one
therapeutic.
thing that really connects me to Somali culture, like the poetry and like the writing. And I never used to think of that until like I started writing for myself and like really connecting to it. And there's such a power behind writing that you don't really think about. To anyone that does it would understand how precious that is.
Mm, absolutely.
You mentioned that you teach. Like I can't remember what you said because I was just like a lot of the thing that you were saying was very heavy, and I was trying to like focus on like all of them. Tell me a bit
Yes.
about that.
Lecturer. I give courses. The course is called Flexible Identities. I
Mm,
took these courses when I was a teenager myself, and it really helped me to understand that it's okay to be more than just one thing. I am Somali, but I'm also Norwegian. I
mm,
am Somali and I'm proud of being a Somali, but I have my Norwegian ways, and that's okay.
mm.
And we don't have to choose one thing or another. We live here, we have our children here. It's given that the country you're living in is going to affect and you're going to adapt,
Yeah,
certain
the way you
thoughts,
function.
the way we communicate, the way we talk, the
Mm,
way we think, um, planning your day, appreciating, heads up before somebody shows up at your home. Those things that are given in our, home cultures that we, with flexible identity, we have a gift, instead of looking at it as a curse. Because I used to think like, oh, I don't have like a childhood friend. When my classmates would talk about, oh, this person is my childhood to kindergarten together. I didn't experience that. I was a refugee child.
mm,
I was my country when I left. My country was at war. We lost uh, people. We lost dear people in war, and not only people, also our belongings, everything. So not having, a childhood friend was something I used to like. I don't have a childhood friend. I don't have like childhood home.
mm.
We have been refugees and living in our own country, but at the same time moving around because of if the war comes here, you move to the next city and so on and so forth. So to understand that we have gift also, we have the ability to understand and different cultures, and we speak different languages. We are not just bilingual, but more than two languages. Um, I speak 4 languages, and I know someone who speaks 7 languages, mashallah, because they have lived in different places. And also to understand that, our parents may have a different way of being in this country. Their identity is stronger in a sense that they look at us like, sometimes they look at us like, I mean, I'm not talking about me personally, but generally also my students, um, they are losing their identity because they are now also Norwegians. They're in this country. They have certain expectations, certain ways they want to communicate with their parents. So there's a cultural clash there. And these courses help the students understand it's okay that they are the way they are, but also understand their parents and know that the parents' experience is different. They came in here, maybe the children were born here, but the parents came here as refugees, and their memory of their home country is different than what the children have. And just to realize also be self-aware, sorry, to be self-aware and understand that you have tools and gifts within you, and you can love your country and love your culture, but also you can love your host country and also like the things that work for you and within this culture, and make your own, and like have the identity of you are both individual, you have individual identity, but you also understand the collective an identity of your family, and you have respect for that, but you also have respect for yourself. So it's like it has helped me, and I'm hoping that it will do the same for my new group of students that I will have soon, inshallah.
That's so true. Like, there's like I don't know if they have it over there in Norway, but here in London they say like people from my generation they call us say wallahi generation because
Yeah.
we speak both language like the English and the Somali, and like when we speak to each other we mix both languages together, and like the older generation when they listen to us speak like they're very confused to how we could go back and forth to
Yes.
from both languages. And then like I remember I went in 2015, visited Gur'al for like 3 months for summer holidays with my sisters and mom. My cousins were there. They came to visit us, and because we've been there for a month, and we were just trying to speak Somali to all of them, but a bit of the English will come out, and we would do our very best to hold back. And then when my cousins came to visit us during like Maghrib time, we just started talking, and like we just felt so comfortable with each other because we're from the same culture. And one of us like would say, I remember someone said say wallahi, and my mom started laughing.
Oh my God.
Started laughing. She was like shakada sa ila ma termiya masha jokti mutaqani. But like
Yeah.
it's funny to look back on, and I think it was just like only the end of last year where I was like I'm proud to be that generation. Call us say wallahi, call us whatever you want. But it just both cultures they make you who you are because
Absolutely.
you you spend some part of your life in Somalia and the other part in your host country, and you get to learn different values and perspectives, and you get to walk different paths, but they shaped this identity that you have. And it's been a struggle for me to be honest, but towards the end, it's just that it's important to just realize that it is what it is. There you can't change. Acceptance.
100%. We have to accept um the person we are, the
Mm,
person becoming, our journey, and of course, whatever we go through takes part in shaping us. And also the different cultures we have been exposed to takes part in shaping us.
mhm,
So for us to try to deny one part of ourselves, it's wrong. It's absolutely wrong, and we can never, you know, we can't do that. So accepting who you are becoming, and also having compassion and understanding, both you and your, the people around you. I think that is the best.
And I went back to writing again, like my poetry. And but before that I remember thinking like this doesn't feel like me until I
Yeah.
started writing in Somali and English together.
Oh,
Like
that's
it
really.
just makes sense.
Mhm.
There's power in when you put your own into something, voices your, pain or your thoughts or your opinions or your truth. And like there's like I don't think a lot of people get that Somali is just like the language. There's like flow to it and there's like beauty to it.
Absolutely.
And the one that I wrote yesterday, I'm just like looking at it and I'm like, oh my God, like this feels like an upgrade. You know, like when you just like accept and you just like in every aspect of your life, whether it's just like writing or talking. And like throughout this podcast, I'm sure I've spoken in both languages.
Yeah, I think we have.
And like when like we have this tendencies where we stop ourselves from like, am I like doing too much, or like am I saying too much, or like how did that come across, or maybe like the
Mm.
Somali is a little bit too much, or maybe the English is a little too much, maybe I need to tone it down. Like how is that for you? Did you deal with that when you like would speak, because like you said you speak four languages, like did you mix
Yeah.
them up or did you
I mix, when I'm speaking with my siblings, we
Mm,
never speak only one language.
mm,
Um, I didn't realize that I had a friend um who was at my house, and I was talking on the phone with my sister, and she recorded me. She's like, "You speak Norwegian," and then suddenly you're like, blah, 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 blah. Like, yeah, what? And I heard myself like I was talking Somali, and then Norwegian, and then Somali and Norwegian,
mm,
and it's the same if we're talking in English. We mix. I haven't had I haven't had an issue with that, and I have always. I think for me, coming to this country as a teenager, I already had Somali, and then, that I'm African, that I was
mm,
very proud of being African, the continent, anything African. And my classmates in high school can attest to that. Very proud African girl. So having, knowing that it was yeah, that's who I am. But after a while, I'm like, okay, I am also Norwegian. This is where I'm growing up. This is where I live, and I'm not gonna go around like, yes, I'm Norwegian, la la la, and argue with people who say you're not Norwegian. No, it's okay because people are entitled to their views and opinions. It's just that certain things take part in shaping us. Like the way when we talk, sometimes I have to remember the way we talk to elders back home. You don't look them in the eye, you know.
I remember that like all of my aunties, even like my mom's friends, I would call them Ohoyo. Never once did I say Havaref.
How do you explain that to a Norwegian? They're like, everyone is your mom, everyone is your sister. I'm proud of my Somali roots, and that I'm Somali, and I'm wearing dirak right now, actually. Um, and it's beautiful. We have beautiful culture. We have beautiful things, no, within our culture. But of course, where you live in,
Mm,
wherever it is, whichever country it is, it takes part. The culture here, you look people in the eye. If you don't, it's rude. Why are you not looking at me in the eye? Like, do you have, um, are you being disrespectful? Are you lying? That's what I laugh because I remember, in high school, my teacher, my history teacher, and he wanted to tell me, he wanted to talk to me, and I'm like looking down. He's like, look at me. Why are you not looking at me? Like, he's telling me, "You're being disrespectful." I'm like, "But I am being very respectful because I'm looking down. I'm not looking at you in your eyes. What the hell?" Fast forward many years later, I'm with my people and I'm looking this elderly auntie. "Makumaya tayo." So it is what it is, man. It takes part in shaping us, and it's okay. We don't have to fight. We just have to have our values, the things that matter to us that we cannot compromise. We know that for ourselves and we keep that. Other things like, eye contact, it's okay. Now I know, okay, when I'm with elderly, uh, you know, people from other cultures where showing respect is looking down, I do that. When I'm with other people who expect eye contact, I give them eye contact. No problem.
No, I love that. I can't stop thinking about Okobi. The truth behind that, like it just hits.
Ah,
Um,
wow.
yeah, it looks like we're right on time. Um, we have 1 minute. Before we close out, do you have anything else you want to share?
Thank you, Anissa, for having me and for this beautiful conversation.
No, definitely. Thank you for taking the time. Like we rescheduled many times, but this is what worth it. To have this conversation with you. And I just want to remind you, like you're doing such a wonderful job. I don't think you need any validation from me. Another Somali sister, I'm just proud of you for how far you've come and all the things that you